Big Dash knows what?
Hello and welcome to Big Dash Knows. Big Dash knows what? You see the thumbnail. We're talking about Jaxson Dart, the legend of Jaxson Dart, Ole Miss quarterback. I like Jaxson Dart. And you guys know me. You guys have been watching some of my videos. You guys know how I feel about the top two prospects in this draft, or my top two prospects in this draft, that being Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders. And just because I like those two guys doesn't mean I don't like any other quarterbacks in this draft. That would be a lie. To me, Jaxson Dart is the third best quarterback or prospect, actually a quarterback prospect in this draft. You know, before I had him at 4, I had him after Jalen Milroe. But the more and more that I watch Jalen Milroe, that ain't it, bro. It is not it. It's not it for me. Jaxson Dart is absolutely better than Jalen Milroe. Now, Jalen Milroe does have a high ceiling, but you got to be able to tap into it. You got to be able to tap into it, Pauls. And I don't know who's going to be able to tap into what Jalen Milroe could absolutely be. We'll see what happens with that. But this is not an episode about Jalen Milroe either. This is about Jaxson Dart. So when I throw up the stats when it comes to Jaxson Dart, in 2024, Jaxson Dart threw for 4,276 yards, 29 touchdowns to 6 interceptions. That's fantastic stat line. That's a fantastic stat line to have. And again, I like Jaxson Dart. Big arm, athletic. He has the swagger as well. He passes the swag test. You can see him on the field. I like Jaxson Dart a lot. I just don't like Jaxson Dart as much as I like Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward. But again, depending on the scenario, I can't say no to Jaxson Dart completely. Absolutely not. If those top two guys are off the board, best believe I'm trying to find a nice, reasonable spot to draft Jaxson Dart. I will say that, and that's how I feel about it. Now, getting to more of these stats, right? So let's go. Passing grade, 91.4. Intermediate passing grade was a 93.9. Fantastic. Deep grade, 92.3. Non-pressure grade, 93.0. These are all fantastic numbers. What are we talking about here? Fantastic numbers. Great prospect. When you look at just some of his progression from 2022 to 2023, and then this most recent year, you're seeing constant progression in the stats. I'm sorry, in the yards, in the touchdowns. He's dropping as far as the interceptions go. In 2022, he had 11 interceptions and 20 touchdowns. In 2023, he had, He had 23 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. And then in 2024, he has 29 touchdowns to 6 interceptions. The man is making progress, and that's exactly what you want to see in a quarterback prospect. Now, let's talk about this Ole Miss style of offense. The coach for Ole Miss is Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin is a fantastic college coach. Understands spacing on the field, understand getting his wide receivers open. And that's the one knock that a lot of people have when it comes to Jaxson Dart. Is the style of offense that he's playing at Ole Miss. It is not NFL friendly at all. It's one of those spread type of offenses. They deal with a lot of motions, and we are starting to see that in the NFL game. We're starting to see it, but it's not quite there yet. So when you look at a lot of the plays from Jaxson Dart, and if you're looking up highlights, if you're looking at full games, and it's hard to do that too, because we're talking about the SEC, and it's hard for them, to put up, cut-ups of any kind of SEC games, because they'll take it down quick, fast, and in a hurry. But if you get a chance to watch them live, watch these full games live, which I've seen possibly about 5 Ole Miss games this year, I don't have any complaints really when it comes to Jaxson Dart. He plays that style of offense the way it's supposed to be played. He's doing what Lane Kiffin asks him to do. You can't be mad at that. My whole deal is once he gets to the next level and they put even more on his plate, when he has to do more thinking, when he has to think more about defensive schemes and reading defenses, that's where I want to see where the transition lies. When I look at Cam Ward and look at Shedeur Sanders, I think these guys are ahead of him when it comes to processing, because they dealt with different type of offenses, especially Shedeur Sanders when it comes to a pro style of offense and reading defenses. So I'm not saying that Jaxson Dart can't read defenses. Not at all. I'm not saying that at all, but he's not asked to read defenses as much as you see a guy like Shedeur Sanders or a guy like Cam Ward. I can't even put Cam Ward in that same category as Shedeur Sanders, but again, O-lines matter, competitions matter, and that's where a lot of the arguments lie when it comes to Jaxson Dart. Jaxson Dart playing in the SEC absolutely plays against a stiffer competition. It is what it is. Cam Ward plays in the ACC. Shedeur Sanders plays in the Big 12. And a lot of people will say, well, who's Cam Ward playing? Or definitely, who is Shedeur Sanders playing? And my answer to that is, who did Josh Allen play? Who did Lamar Jackson play? Who did Joe Flacco play? A lot of these quarterbacks that are actually successful in the league, a lot of them didn't have the best competition. Drake May didn't have the best competition playing in the ACC as well. So I don't want to put too much stock on the competition. When I look at these quarterbacks, I look at the scenarios, I look at the arm strength. Can they make NFL style throws or NFL type of throws? Yes. Do they have a strong enough arm to get the job done? Yes. Can they read defenses? Do they have anticipation skills? Do they have pocket awareness? Stuff like that. That's what you're looking at when it comes to these quarterbacks. It's very rare that you get a guy like Jaden Daniels who's just wow on the field. Just wow. Pressure versus non-pressure, getting busy, pause, able to make big plays with his legs too. You don't get too many of those. Caleb Williams running around making plays. You see it a lot. And speaking of running around making plays, let's get into one of my comps when it comes to Jaxson Dart. And I don't want people to, take this the wrong way at all, because I'm not talking about this player in the NFL. I'm talking about this player coming out of college. When I look at Jaxson Dart and I watch the Ole Miss games, I see Zach Wilson at BYU. Oh, what are you talking about, Dash? Get out of here. No. If I put up clips of Zach Wilson at BYU, you see him running around, athletic, big arm, making plays with his legs, making plays to extend plays and make a big throw. I'm looking at Jaxson Dart. Seriously, if you guys have time to go back and look at Zach Wilson at BYU, please go ahead and do that. I don't care if it's highlights. I don't care if it's full games. When I'm looking at Jaxson Dart, I see Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson played good enough at BYU to get drafted second overall. This is not a knock on Jaxson Dart. Now, once Zach Wilson got to the NFL and realized the same difference, it's a different type of game than that college style of offense. You saw some struggles, but you also saw some glimpses as well. So when I look at Jaxson Dart, I say this: yes, the wild plays are there. Yes, the stats are there. But when I look at this offense and how it's friendly to the college game, how will he transition to the NFL? And that's why I have him a little bit lower than the top two guys, Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward. But again, would I draft him? I would absolutely draft Jaxson Dart. I will take a chance with Jaxson Dart. You put him in the correct scenario, he could be a franchise quarterback without a doubt in my mind. But how many perfect spots are there? And how many teams are going to give him the time to develop? It's very, very different in the NFL right now. A lot of these quarterbacks get drafted and they're thrown right to the wolves. Jaxson Dart is not one of those guys that I would like to throw to the wolves. I wouldn't like to throw any of these guys, to the wolves, but it's going to happen. It's going to happen. So when I talk about, and let's talk about the perfect scenario, my perfect scenario for a guy like Jaxson Dart, what would be the best place for Jaxson Dart to go? Anywhere or any team that has a quarterback, a veteran quarterback on the way out. That will be a perfect spot for Jaxson Dart, a guy that has maybe 1 year, 2 years left. The perfect place that comes to mind is the LA Rams for me. I like Jaxson Dart, getting drafted by the LA Rams. Matthew Stafford's still there. If he's already contemplating retirement. He's probably going to play again this year. But then you have him for at least a year. You have Jaxson Dart, studying under Matthew Stafford, one of the best to do it. And I think that's a perfect spot for Jaxson Dart. When I think about some other teams, maybe the Seattle Seahawks is another one. Maybe the Dallas Cowboys is another one. Who else has a veteran quarterback or a quarterback that's a possible bridge and on the way out? Those are the perfect scenarios, in my opinion, for Jaxson Dart. He does need the time to develop. It wouldn't be fair to Jaxson Dart to just throw him to the Wolves week 1 in the 2025 season. Again, I don't think it's fair for a lot of these quarterbacks. Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, I don't think it would be fair for them either. But when you're getting drafted that low, like the Giants or the Titans or the Browns, most likely, especially with the injuries to Deshaun Watson, most likely these guys are going to be playing very early in the 2025 season. But that's just my quick video about Jaxson Dart, giving you guys some thoughts about what I think about him. Again, I like a lot. I like it when I look at it. The intangibles are there, the arm strength is there, the athleticism is there, and he checks the boxes for the swag. I like Jaxson Dart a lot. and we'll see what happens in the draft. Let me know what you guys think about, my thoughts. If you agree, if you disagree with me, let me know in the comment section down below. But this is a Jaxson Dart conversation that, a lot of teams need to have, because outside of Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders, there's a lot of people that are probably looking at Jaxson Dart as a possible draft pick or draft selection in this 2025 season, whether it be the back half of round 1 or, somewhere in the second round. I think that's the sweet spot for Jaxson Dart, but we'll see what happens. And again, we got the Senior Bowl tomorrow. Most likely he's going to be the Senior Bowl MVP. We'll see if that comes true. And again, let me know. Tap in before the game, tap in after the game, or tap in whenever you're watching this video, and let me know what you guys think about my particular breakdown on Jaxson Dart. But with that being said, I want to thank everybody for vibing with me. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And from one football fan to another, this is Big Dash Knows, Big Blue Nation. Let's go.